to the 19th.
All right, today on the podcast, we have Elvira Carrizal-Dukes. She is an assistant professor of practice at UTEP, the University of Texas, El Paso, and we're going to be talking about crafting a pitch. So, Elvira, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you inviting me. I look forward to talking with your students.
Yeah, so great. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background first in media production, because you do a lot of stuff, and kind of, a lot of the best practices about crafting a pitch can relate across different types of media production. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll kind of get into that.
Sure. So I started off in broadcast journalism. That's where I began my college experience. And so I started working with, video cameras and editing. And then I went on to film school and got my Master of Fine Arts in film. And I've also done playwriting and um, I guess, social media. So I consider myself a digital rhetor, and I use creative, artistic images and sound to help um, add to social movements, social justice movements. So I like to consider myself someone who adds visual and oral messages to the world. And so I have a little bit of creative writing background in a lot of different areas. And I guess right now I just completed my PhD, so now I'm becoming a academic scholar, which I also plan to use media incorporated into my scholarship.
And you also do a lot of creative projects with your partner as well, right?
Yes. So Ronnie Dukes, he is the artist for our company. It's an independent publishing comic book company called dukescomics.com. And so Ronnie does all the illustrations, the inking, the coloring, and the lettering for our comic books. And I write the stories. And recently we did a collaboration with the Alzheimer's West Texas chapter organization. Especially during COVID, they wanted to reach out specifically to caregivers of people who are dealing with dementia or any other sort of Alzheimer's related illnesses, and specifically to promote relaxation and stress-free activities.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So, maybe you kind of vibing off that project or really anything, how do you kind of make that decision, that determination that, like, of the dozens of creative ideas bouncing around in your head on any given day, like, how do you decide, like, okay, this idea is ready to actually go into pre-production and I'm going to start really giving time to it?
I would say the first thing is the idea or the initial inspiration. Like, what was the first image or sound or headline or situation in your life that sort of inspired you to want to create something creative based on that subject? So I would say listen to those emotions and feelings that you have when you encounter certain type of material. Um, and really something that just speaks to you. And so once you find your topic and you know that this is a topic that you love and that you can talk to others about it, and then you need to start organizing your idea into, it could be a visual storyboard, or it could even just be like an outline of how you see the project being produced, whether it's visual or just audio or a combination of both. You still need to have a story, whether it's a 30-second soundbite or a graphic. You still have to think about, what is my message? And you should be able to say that in 2 to 3 sentences. What is your ultimate message with this topic that you're trying to deal with? And then I would, once you kind of have that solid story from beginning, middle to end, then think about what resources you need at every stage in the creation of that product. So what software do you need, or do you need others' assistance? Is there someone who can help you with holding the mic while you're filming your project? Or do you need an artist, for example, to illustrate your comic book that you just wrote? You have to start thinking about, what resources, what people do you need to collaborate with in order to get your project done? And then, of course, thinking about your budget and, what resources do you have to create your project? So I would say once you have a solid idea, you're passionate about your topic, you have an idea of how you see it beginning, how you see the middle, and how you see the end. And once you have a crew, then I would say you're ready to start pre-producing, so it's almost like you have to do pre-production before you do pre-production. So in other words, pre-production would then be where you start to reserve your spaces, reserve your equipment. So that's where you start to go in and you start to make commitments about, what it is that you're going to be filming or what cast you're going to be using. Your script should be finalized by this point. And then just go into production. So I would say story is the part that you need to focus the most on.
Yeah, that's really good. So I think you covered a lot of really good best practices about the idea stage. To add to that, what are some best practices? Like, one of the great things about podcasting is the low barrier to entry, right? Like anybody can do it. And I mean, you can just do your own show and be really successful with it. And in many ways, the media, the technology is changing so that that is true, even with filmmaking and other more involved media. But if you are going to have something really successful, right, at some point you're probably going to be interacting with people in the industry, and people in the business. So what are some best practices for professionalism as far as pitching an idea to somebody that is at that professional level?
I would say be conscious of other people's time, especially, just remember you're not the first person that has probably approached this person with a script. So sometimes if you are in an elevator with someone that you want to give your pitch to, then I would say always, be respectful of people's space. So in other words, be careful about, just use common sense about how you approach someone or touch someone. But you can start just simply by saying, hi, my name is, I'm a writer, I'm trying to make this film, it's about, and then just say it in 2 sentences what it's about. And then just wait for a response and kind of gauge the person's interest. And then you can end by saying, here's my business card, or here's a postcard of my latest project. So that's the other thing, is I would say always carry something that you can give to people, whether it's a business card or a postcard that reflects your work, and try to really put a lot of time into being creative with your visuals and what you give people so that they can remember you. But I mean, if you, for some reason, somehow have a personal connection, like you're at a party with this person or you're in a cab, then I would just jump into your pitch right away. Be respectful. Just, start with your name right away. And in 2 sentences, just say what your project is about. And then before you leave this person, make sure you hand them a business card or some type of a postcard. So that's how I would say, that's how I would say it if you were like stuck in an elevator with someone.
Yeah, that's the hustle. I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much for your
Sure.
time, Elvira, and we really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening. You can listen to more episodes and find resources for teaching podcasting at podcastpedagogy.com. You can email the show at info@podcastpedagogy.com. carrizal.com.